Residents storing boats at town ways to water will need an identification sticker. It's time to get your off-road vehicle permit from Sandy Neck. And we hear from the new Assistant Airport Manager, Katie Service. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, April 30th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mantle. New in-season regulations for the storage of vessels on town property go into effect tomorrow. Storage will still be allowed at town ways to water, but boats must be smaller than 12 feet in length and 5 feet in beam. Those wishing to store vessels at town landings must also affix an identification decal. Decals are available at no charge from the Harbor Master's office. For more information, you can contact the Harbor Master's office at 508-790-6272. That number again, 508-790-6272. If you'd like to take your four-wheeler out on Sandy Neck, now is the time to get your off-road vehicle permit. All approved four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive vehicles, as well as two-wheel drive motorhomes, are eligible for the permit. ORV permits are sold at the Sandy Neck Gatehouse and are valid until April 15th, 2016. Day passes are not available for the ORV Beach. The cost is $85 for residents and $170 for non-residents. Visit the Sandy Neck page at the town's website for more details and for a list of required equipment. Well, a measure to keep working charter boats in Barnstable Harbor is under consideration. During this week's Waterways Committee meeting, Town Council Vice President Ann Kennedy talked about the need for town slips that are dedicated to charter boats in Barnstable Harbor. One proposal would allow for the creation of a separate waiting list for charter boats, along with an allotted number of slips dedicated to charters. The Waterways Committee liked the proposal and plan to continue to discuss the implementation of a charter boat slip program. And now let's get to know Barnstable Municipal Airport's new assistant manager. Her name is Katie Service. She recently sat down with Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin. We share that interview with you now.
Good morning, everyone. Time for our transportation segment. We are here at Barnstable Municipal Airport and finally getting to welcome our new Assistant Airport Manager, Katie Service. Katie, good morning and welcome. I've been looking forward to interviewing you for some time. So tell us a little bit, before we talk about your work here, about what you've been doing before you came to Barnstable. I understand you have a long history in aviation.
Sure. So I am originally from Westport, Massachusetts. I went to school at Bridgewater State University for the aviation program. I started out in flight training. I have my private pilot's license. In fact, I got my license before my dad, who is also a very big aviation guru. And he said, "This is wrong. My 18-year-old daughter has her license. I think I need to get mine." So he got his about a year after me. But I went to Bridgewater University. I was flight training for 3 years. And then I started to look into management, aviation management. I ended up doing an internship at Logan Airport with their operations department and decided that I liked doing more stuff on the ground. I enjoyed flying, but I don't think it was my first passion. So in my third year, at the end of that year, I switched to management. Had to tack on one more semester of school. But that was fine, so I switched to management in that year and then started working soon after at the Portland Jet Board after I did my internship at Logan. I worked there for a couple of different airlines, Delta Airlines and Business Express at the time that was there, and then moved out west and worked at an airport called Painfield Snohomish County Airport.
Wow.
In their operations department. And that is very similar to what I'm doing here at Barnstable. So I really loved working there. I was out there for 4 years, and that was really where I wanted to be. In between that time, I became a consultant, an airport consultant, and then I worked for the State Aeronautics Division for some time as well, and then came back to where I started at an airport.
Absolutely.
So here I am today.
So, wonderful. So what got you interested in flying in aviation in the first place?
I'm embarrassed to say, but it was The movie Top Gun.
There's no embarrassing about that. That's awesome.
I think that piqued my interest in the military as well. I also was in the Air Force. I was in the Rhode Island Air National Guard for 6 years through college. And then I finished that in '96, and I was going to re-enlist or continue my time there with the Guard, but then the job came up at Snohomish County Airport in Washington State. So I left the military. In hindsight, I was young and I should have stayed in the military, but I enjoyed my time in the military, and I think I really had a flavor for aviation through the military, and in high school is where my interest was really piqued. I also have a father who's very involved in aviation. He has his own business on the side, outside of his normal job that he did have, making digital altimeters and tachometers. So he always had an interest in aviation, and I think that he probably at some point in my life talked about wanting to fly, and I just caught the bug from him. So somewhere along the line, that transferred to me.
Great. And here you are in Barnstable, and of course you've been here since the beginning of the year, and not the easiest start, at least dealing with the weather here. So tell me a little bit about your first 3 months here in Barnstable.
Sure. So my first day on the job was January 26th. I'm going to remember it forever. It was the start of Juno. And I didn't go home for 3 days. So my husband called me a couple of times and said, "Are you coming home tonight?" And I'm like, I don't think so.
Can't really get there.
Yeah, exactly. So that was hard because it was so tiring. We had storms basically since I started almost every Monday or every weekend for the month of January and into February. We had storms. So was it hard? Yes, it was hard, but it was probably the best education for me to get right in with the folks working the snowstorms. Our maintenance department is phenomenal. They worked endlessly to clear that snow, and I was really impressed with them and with how dedicated they were. So it was good to see them working. It was good to see our operations department working through those snowstorms, but the best thing about it is that it got me in with the worst storm. I'm hoping that I can deal with the others that come along in the coming years. It got me in that, but it also got me introduced to our team. And, you know, trial by fire, it was the best thing for me. And they got to know me, too, during that storm, so that was good.
Indeed, and you can really see how people truly work together when they're faced with adversity like that. So, you know, a tough start, but I think a good start. So now that the weather's getting warmer, things are getting busier, we're heading into our busy summer season. Tell me a little bit about maybe some of your goals now that you're here as our assistant airport manager.
Sure. So I have to think short-term goals right now are to get prepared for our busy season. So we do have some construction projects that are coming up. So short-term goals are getting ready, having pre-construction meetings, making sure that everybody on the team is aware of the projects that are at hand, when they're going to occur, when we need help from the different departments. So that's really our short-term goals. We also have our annual inspection coming up with the Federal Aviation Administration. That's in June. So just making sure that everything is ready for that. You know, pretty much every day the job that the operations department and the maintenance department does is to be ready for that at any moment. So, but it's just getting geared up for it, kind of getting ready. All right, do we have all our ducks in a row? So we're preparing for that. Long-term plans are to really work with Bud Brielt, the airport manager, work with him understanding how they operate this airport and really getting my feet wet. I'm kind of anticipating for my first year is just to really get to know the airport, get to know the tenants, get to know the customers that come in and out of the airport, and then move on from there.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to getting to know you as here in the town of Barnstable, and we look forward to more interviews with you. Katie, I thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Welcome to town. Katie Service, of course, our new Barnstable Municipal Airport Assistant Manager for Barnstable this morning. I'm Sarah Colvin.
We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will have our weekly arts and culture segment. We'll hear about the latest happenings at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.